So here's the big question. How are entrepreneurs like us, who have been hustling and struggling to make it to success, who seem to make it one step forward only to fall two steps back, who are dedicated, determined, and driven, how do we finally break through and win? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brian Kelly, and this is the Mind, Body, Business Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mind, Body, Business Show. I am very excited once again, as usual, every show, with the fact that we have an amazing guest expert coming on. He's a phenom. He's amazing. He's climbing the ranks quickly because he's putting into practice that which he learns. And that's a key that we might be talking about that more in the show tonight. And the thing is, it's a fairly organic show. We just talk about the topics that will help you, the entrepreneur, the small business person, to achieve success faster by simply listening to the guest experts that come on this show, by taking notes, and then, of course, by taking action on those notes. That is the recipe for success. The Mind Body Business Show is a show for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. And the very name of the show is indicative of what I call the three pillars of success. The three pillars being mind, which is, to a person, successful individuals that I have personally investigated and learned from, either people that I know personally that are still with us, people that have written books, others that may not be with us anymore, but I have studied and looked at their traits. These three traits came up and they kept bubbling to the top. And I was like, there's something going on here. Mind being mindset. To each and every one of these individuals that was successful, they each had a very powerful, positive, and here's the most important key, flexible mindset. And then two, body. Each of these individuals, they literally took care of themselves physically and nutritionally. It's that simple. And then business. Business is multifaceted. There are many skill sets that one must master in order to build, maintain, and grow a thriving business. Skill sets like marketing, sales, team building, systematizing, leadership. I mean, the list goes on and on. I could keep talking all night about that list. To master any one skill set can take and does take a considerable amount of time. If you consider it takes about 10,000 hours or so to become an expert in any one area. Similarly with mastering a task, mastering a skill set. And the good news is, though, you as one single person do not have to master every single skill set. No. That's the good news. In fact, all you really need to do is master just one. If you master just one of the skill sets, in fact, it was one of them that I listed just a moment ago, then the others will fall into place for you. I wonder if anyone could guess what that one is. I'll let you know. It is the skill set of leadership. Now, listen, you may be a solopreneur right now, and that's okay. Get in the mindset of leading yourself as if you were one of the people on your team. How would you react to yourself? Get in the habit of running your business as a leader, even though you may be the only person in that business. And then as you bring on individual team members, continue to nurture that, read books on it, get better at it, master it. As you're mastering it, start bringing in those that have mastered or are well on their way to mastering the other skill sets mentioned. And that way you can leverage their abilities. You will never have to master all the skill sets. In fact, I don't think any one human has physical time to do that. It's a lot of time to master them all. So there you go. There's your first golden tip and nugget. And speaking of golden tips and golden nuggets, another phenomenal trait of very successful people is that I found over the years of studying them is that to a person, they're also very avid readers of books. And with that, I want to segue very quickly into a short segment that I affectionately call Bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yes, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. And yes, Adrian Moreno is in the house. He's waiting. He cannot wait. He's scratching at the monitor saying, let me in, let me in. It's coming right after this quick segment. I promise you, I can't wait to share his genius with you. reachyourpeaklibrary.com. Now, one thing I want to just take a step back very briefly and say, when you hear and see these resources come across during the show, like this one, reachyourpeaklibrary.com, instead of succumbing to that desire to click away or type it in a browser and check it out while the show is on, I implore of you instead to take notes and write it down, and then visit it and the other resources that you've taken notes on after the show is over. Why do I say that? It's a well-known fact that, especially in speaking venues, that if you do not stay in the room and you happen to get up and walk out due to a distraction, your phone went off, you have to go to the restroom, what have you, you could miss that one nugget that could change your life forever. Same case here. The magic happens in the room if your attention is elsewhere. And then we have Adrian, who gives one of those golden nuggets that will change your life forever, and you're not paying attention. You may have missed out on life-changing information. I'm not kidding about this, and please don't take this lightly. It's just advice, but I would implore of you to take notes, stay with us throughout the show, because we also have some fantastic prize, actually 2 prizes to give away for those of you that stay on live to the end. So reachyourpeaklibrary.com, very quickly, it is a website that I had developed with you in mind. I'm not kidding. This is there for you. And it's because I myself did not become an avid reader until about 10 years ago at the age of 47. So now you can do the math. And so what I started doing was taking those books that I had read that had a profound impact either on my business life or my personal life. And I started compiling them. And I said, hey, build me a page for this. I sent it to my team. They built this page. There's no rhyme or reason to the order these are in here. They're not alphabetic. They're not all by author. They're just in there. So pick the one that just jumps off the page to you and go get it. And you don't have to get it from this website. The whole purpose of this is not for Brian to make money. It is for you to get the information in front of your eyeballs or in your ears, because I listen to all these books on Audible, to get it in the information into your being, so you can put these into action and change your life. That is there for you. I consider it a gift because, again, it's not there for the purpose of making money. Buy these books wherever you want to buy them. If you have a go-to place, find them here. Go buy them wherever you feel is adequate for your needs. That's it. It's time to bring on the one and only Adrian Moreno. Here we go. Get ready.
It's time for the Guest Expert Spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is the one. It is the only Adrian Moreno.
What's going on, Brian? What's going on? That was so fun, just sitting back, watching the way you start this show. I'm super excited to be here, and just thanks a lot for having me here, man.
The pleasure is all mine. You're very young in years, but you're very advanced in intellect, in accomplishment, and I'm so grateful that you're spending your time here with me on this show. And it's not just with me, it's with the entire tribe, those that watch it live, those that watch the recording, those that listen on over 40 podcast platforms that this will be on very, very soon after this show is over. So the beautiful thing is many people will get to take in your brilliance and take in your advice, take in and simply model what you do, what's made you successful. And that's why I love to do what I get to do. I get to meet amazing people like yourself. So before I go too far down on the bromance here, what I'm going to do is take care of some housekeeping, if you don't mind, Adrian, real quick. We got some advertisers here, sponsors. We got the biginsidersecrets.com. It's that red and white stamp looking icon there in the upper right if you're watching this live or recording. If you're listening on podcast, it's thebiginsidersecrets.com. They sponsor this show. And why do they do that? What do they provide? They give us the ability to give away each and every night, each and every show, a 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort. And it's amazing, amazing. It's not one of those things where if you win, you get taken down to the basement and they water drip torture you for a timeshare sale. And nothing like that. Nothing like I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. It is a super high quality prize. So you do not want to miss that. And then 2 more real quick, and then we'll get back to the man, the myth, the legend, Adrian Moreno here in just a sec. So if you're struggling with putting a live show together and maybe you're finding it to be overwhelming and you want a lot of the processes done for you while still enabling you to put on a high quality show and connect with great people like Adrian Moreno, hint, hint, wink, wink, and grow your business all at the same time, then head on over to carpetbombmarketing.com. Carpet Bomb Marketing. Saturate the marketplace with your message. And one of the key components that is contained in the Carpet Bomb marketing system is one that you'll learn how to absolutely master. It's the very service we use, and we use it right now to stream our live shows right here on the Mind Body Business Show. You can see it on the screen if you're watching. It is StreamYard. And what you want to do is write down this URL. It's ryp.im/streamlive. ryp.im/streamlive. Write that down and then visit it when the show is over so that you can start streaming high quality live video broadcasts for free. That's right, for free. So get that URL, write it down, ryp.im/streamlive. And now it's time to properly and formally introduce the man of the hour, Mr. Adrian Moreno. Are you ready? Is everyone ready? Adrian Moreno, he began his career inside the health and fitness space. I love that because so did I, while also gaining unparalleled experience with, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, hypnosis, I said it, and NLP, stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Amazing science. He established himself as a respected transformation specialist. And if you have heard anything about NLP, you understand that fully. It is transformative, and it's amazing. As co-creator of the Neuro-Remapping method, I love this, he specializes in eliminating social and performance anxiety in 2 sessions or less. And they're probably like 20-hour sessions. No, they're not. That's a hint. If he isn't busy setting a new standard for how quick transformation, there's the word quick, can happen, you can find him spending time with his reading, writing, or watching The Office, the show. I love it. So with that, formally and officially, welcome to the show, Mr. Adrian Moreno. How are you doing,
Again,
brother?
Brian, thanks a lot for having me, man.
I'm just going to drop right in and start going deep into the mindset right off the bat. And so, Adrian, you know that being an entrepreneur is like super simple. There's never a roadblock, never a setback. It's just easy sailing. And
Easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, we're being very sarcastic on this for sure. And one of the things I like to find out from my guests who are successful, such as yourself, is, you know, there's a lot of things going on. There's setbacks, there's arduous tasks, there are clients that may have issues that you need to address. There may be technology issues. I mean, it just never ends. That's part of why I love being an entrepreneur, to be honest. It's kind of a sick thing, but I love it. But for you, Adrian, when you're about to wake up in the morning, or when you are waking up, I should say, and your eyes open, what is going on in your big, beautiful brain that is keeping you driven day after day, night after night, week in, week out, month in, month out, with all of this that we deal with as entrepreneurs, knowing it's in front of you? What keeps you driven to keep powering through and become successful?
So I love this question. I was listening to a podcast episode maybe about sometime in 2020 when I just started really listening to podcasts. And one of the episodes I was listening to, the guest expert said, you know, you're going to be dead a lot longer than you're going to be alive. And when that hit me, it was so simple. But in my mind, it became idiotic to do anything in my life that was not meaningful to me. Because every single one of us are going to die, but we don't fully bring that to our mind on a day-to-day basis. I literally have a poster in front of me. You can't see it now, but it literally says you're going to die. I like to revisit this on a daily basis because what this allows, when I revisit the fact that I don't know if I'm going to be here in the next 20, 30, 40 years, it sounds great. But if I revisit the fact that I'm not sure on that, it's interesting. Thinking about death brings a lot of life that I believe only death can bring. So that's one of the things is I understand that my time is very limited, even as a 25-year-old kid. And number two, I am on a mission to change the education system within my time span, within the time that I'm here. So because that is so significant to me, in other words, children living much more fuller lives is way more bigger than I am. It's silly for me to wake up and want to stay in bed. It's silly for me to wake up and not be energetic to put my feet on the ground and get about going about my day-to-day basis. So that is literally one of the very first things that I do is I actually just remind myself of my mortality and the fact that this 25-year-old kid's not always going to be 25 years old. And one day I won't even have a number. Right. So does that answer your question?
Oh, completely. I love it. It's you have a why that's outside of yourself, because you know that your time is limited. You want to get it done. You want to change. You want to basically change the education system as it stands for the better. And
Absolutely.
That isn't for you. That's for other people. And so when you say you want to change that, what age group or what kinds of people are you wanting to change it for?
Yeah, great question. So as a hypnotherapist, I have worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs on things like addiction, compulsive behaviors, depression, anxiety, all of these kinds of things, anger issues, whatever kind of thing you can imagine. And one of the things that I do specifically when I work with the client using the Neuro-Remapping method is we utilize something called timeline regression, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. For those who don't know what timeline regression is, imagine closing imagine your brain has a light on and you are turning it off and you're using an extra emergency light to just look through your entire brain, your entire mind to see all of the memories that you're holding there. And in these memories, you can easily revisit them to see what kind of belief you created in that memory. And what I've seen is that when I work with these clients, over 90% of the time, they find themselves in between the ages of 5 and 12 years old. And what's really interesting is all of their problems come from a handful of beliefs. And when I say your problems coming from beliefs, what I mean by that is your beliefs, they act like lenses that paint your perspective. And if you wear a specific lens, you are going to see the reality that lens is designed to see. So if you believe that you're not good enough, which, by the way, a lot of successful entrepreneurs have this belief, but they don't want to admit it because you're an entrepreneur. You're supposed to have it all together. But if you genuinely have a belief deep down inside that you're not good enough, it's going to be very, very, very easy for you to self-sabotage your success. Why? Because you're not good enough. It's going to be very difficult for you to be fulfilled. Why? Because you're not good enough. It's going to be very difficult for you to just create the life that you want with the health, wealth, and relationships that you want because you genuinely feel like you're not even deserving of having that because you're not good enough. So I thought in my mind, what if children in between the ages of 5 and 12 built a resilient mind? The definition of resilience is the ability to bend and come back, right? And going through life, you bend. You go to school one day and somebody makes fun of your shoes because they're hand-me-downs. And you may tell yourself, I guess I'm too different. That you bent a little bit. If you're resilient, you will always bounce back and always find your worth again. And so I find is that the lack of self-worth is the start of so many people's problems. If we can help a child in between the age of 5 and 12 years old build a level of emotional resiliency that allows them to never go home questioning whether or not they're good enough, whether or not they're loved, whether or not they're accepted or worthy. Do you know how many freaking people in this world today? I mean, the suicide rate would drop. The satisfactory rate in terms of how satisfied you are with your life will tremendously skyrocket. So that is like the age group I'm targeting because of the work that I've done. I've been doing this mindset, behavior change work for so long that it's given me an insight on the way that our psyches actually work. And so now what I'm working on doing is building a education program that's going to be designed to teach children between the ages of 5 and 12 how to have that emotional resiliency so they can always bend and come back. Because if you're alive, you're going to bend.
That is very interesting. You caught me completely off guard. Like, wow, he's going after 5 to 12. That is amazing.
Yes.
That is a great cause, phenomenal time, because that's what we call the imprint stage from early age individuals, and that's when those belief patterns get ingrained in our subconscious brain that we carry throughout our adult life. The good news, and I know you also would do this too, Adrian, is if an adult came to you and said, "Can you help me?" do you think can NLP help an adult who's already got all these beliefs ingrained in their subconscious brain? I know the answer to this. I'm asking you to elaborate.
I love this question. So there's a big misconception that we got screwed up as little kids, right? There's a big misconception that, I mean, it's interesting because as I'm building this product, it requires me to do a lot of market research, and my market research is picking up the phone and talking to people. And so talking to parents, it's like, what's your biggest hope for your child? A lot of times they're like, I just don't want to F them up. It's like, it comes up a lot. And so we have this idea. If you look at that idea and you follow that idea, you're going to find a belief that says we are at the mercy of our past, or we are at the mercy of our subconscious mind. This, my friends, is the furthest it can possibly be from the truth, because we have a limited perspective on what the conscious mind actually is. The conscious mind is far more vast than just your waking state of mind. Anyways, can NLP hypnosis help somebody who's already feels like they got all these beliefs grained in them? Well, if you look at reality, yesterday is only an idea. Tomorrow is only an idea. Yesterday is an idea that only exists now, meaning the moment you think of yesterday, you actually birth the reality of yesterday. There is no ultimate experience of yesterday. Brian, you cannot experience yesterday. You cannot experience tomorrow. Why? You wake up, it's still now. So what I mean by that is your point of power is in this moment. Point of power. If you're taking notes right now, just write down those 3 words, point of power. Those 3 words changed my life when I really understood that we can manipulate the past. We can manipulate future events. And I know this sounds interesting, but all through shifting your focus in the conscious moment. So for example, I had a client come to me. He was making $19 million a year and very successful, ambitious individual, but he could not stop procrastinating on writing his book. He's been writing a book for 5 years. We all know how that goes, right? So he's like, I've been writing this book for 5 years, man, and I cannot finish the dang book because every time I try to do it, I keep procrastinating and I push it off, but it doesn't make sense because I'm this motivated person. What's going on? So I took him through the Neuro-Remapping method. And this is a very long answer to your question, but it's really going to get the point across. I took him through a session, and we are looking to find what is causing you to consistently put off the publishing of this book. And so in the session, during the timeline regression part, he finds himself in his 4-year-old body all over again. And it's very vivid. And he goes, I'm at my grandma's house again, and it's Halloween. Me and all my cousins were inside, and we are trading candies. I'm like, okay, keep going with the memory. What's going on? All of his cousins are talking. So he then decides to add to the conversation. And when he tries to speak up, his oldest cousin looked at him and said, shut up. Nobody wants to hear you. My client at 4 years old looked at that moment and he made sense of it. This is the way we make sense of life, is we look at our environment and we add a meaning to that environment. He looked at what happened and he tells himself, I guess my voice doesn't matter. Well, no wonder at 38 years old, you're going to do everything in your power not to put your book out, because I don't know about you, Brian, but putting your book out there, that's putting your voice out there in an extremely vulnerable way. So he genuinely did not feel safe with that. He felt like it didn't matter. So what was the point? Now, the reason why I tell you this story, and by the way, his book ended up getting published in 4 months of our session. So it worked. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because you may think that, oh, Adrian, you looked at his past, so you still had to dig into his childhood to find it. Wrong. What I did was I got him into a trance and I allowed him to perceive his past through the current lenses of belief. You will only look at your past through your current system of beliefs. I just use the past to highlight a current belief. No beliefs are unconscious. he had that. He thought that in his mind all the time, but he never wanted to examine it. Your beliefs are not unconscious. Your beliefs are only unexamined. So NLP, hypnosis, any of this stuff can help somebody, because what it's designed to do is help you locate a belief that you're holding on to right now. Letting go of your problems is not a matter of digging into your past and pinpointing an event. Letting go of your problems is a matter of pinpointing the belief that is leading to the emotional and behavioral responses that are creating whatever it is that you feel like you need help with. So yes, it can help you. Number two, you're not at the mercy of past events, but the moment you believe you are, reality will reorganize itself to convince you that inner data and past memories are just not there. But the moment you believe that they are available, they become very available. So it's very clear.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and encapsulate, you hit on it a couple of times or more than one time, the word belief, and that's the strongest word, because there's this acronym called TBEAR, where we teach this very thing, where your thoughts, if you were to think one thing over and 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 over again, then it becomes a belief. And then when you have a belief and someone is challenging your belief, or you're wanting to display your belief, then you are exhibiting an emotion, whether positive or negative, because you are going to go to the mat for that belief. Beliefs are strong. That's why we have wars. That's why we have all this. So that evokes emotion. And then emotion, what does that lead into? And this is great from a business sense, is if you can evoke the proper emotion through your ad copy, through your videos, through your one-on-ones, you can invoke the next one, which is action. Yes. And that action then will turn into the result. In this case, you will have a client, you will make a sale, you get one farther down, step down your funnel. They will get the results they're looking for, because you're doing this with authenticity, with character, and you're giving them what they came for. So it's a win-win. But if you understand the process of how the brain works, you can really utilize that. And I don't like to say to your advantage, it's to their advantage, because because it's a disservice. If you have something that they want and need, it's a disservice to them if you are unable to convince them that they need it. It's the other way around. If you truly have something that helps somebody and you're unable to get them to the point of perceiving the value you're about to give them, then that's a disservice on your side, not on theirs, for not taking action and going forward. It's all about taking cause, which I'm sure you're all into that too, Adrian. And so it's very powerful when you turn the table in your mind and go, no, if they say no, I did something wrong. And it's a disservice to them, because I know what I have. By that point, you know whether or not you can help them.
And what you just did, I just want to highlight something you said, or what you just did. You just reverse engineered reality. In business, we say, I want to make $50,000, $60,000 this month. So let me see, how many sales do I need to make? Okay. How many appointments do I need to have that many sales? Okay. How many people do I need to talk to? You start reverse engineering until you know what you're doing today, tomorrow, the next day, right? And then why don't we do that when it comes to our reality? Far beyond business, meaning I keep bumping into, in other words, I like one of my clients, I keep getting to $99,000 a month, but I can never hit $100,000 a month. No matter what, he could never hit $100,000 a month. Well, if you reverse engineer that, the result is coming from the behavior. The behavior is a direct influence. It's like I like to say behavior is your emotional self expressing, materializing itself through action. And now if you're like, okay, well, my feelings are driving all of these behaviors, which are creating all of my results. What the heck is creating all of my feelings? Well, before every feeling is a thought. Feelings are the juicier part of thought. That's really all that they are. And the thing is, you think 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. So when you realize you think 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, another funny fact about that is you're only conscious of about 1,200 to 1,600 thoughts a day, meaning majority of them are happening unconsciously. If your mind is so compulsive, there has to be a foundation holding up that compulsiveness. Think about this house that I'm in. This 2-story house wouldn't be able to stand if there wasn't a foundation. In the same exact way, your thought process would not be able to stay the way it is without a foundation, and that foundation is your belief system. And when I say your beliefs create your reality, I think it's important that we understand this on a physics standpoint. If I can just run through this really quick. Your reality, it is reality itself, and this is a scientific fact nowadays. Reality is just an electromagnetic field of energy. That's all reality actually is. In fact, Greg Braden is a really famous scientist, said, if you want to change reality, then you got to be willing to change. Then you have to change the electromagnetic field. Now, this gets really interesting because every belief, every thought is an electromagnetic unit of energy. Think of your thoughts like calories. It's a unit of energy. Now, your thoughts, they initiate a movement of more energy that you feel as a feeling, which is nothing more than an electromagnetic burst of energy being thrust through your system from this idea or thought that produced it. Now, that energy that moves through your system literally reorganizes the atmosphere. It changes the physical atoms that you look at. On 9/11, when the planes hit the World Trade Center, one of the scientists at the Harvard University noticed that because we have these two satellites. One satellite, we have these two satellites, America, in the northern and western hemisphere. These satellites measure the electromagnetic frequency of the Earth. On 9/11, a Harvard scientist noticed the Earth just experienced an electromagnetic energy charge that we've never ever touched before since the dawn of time. And so what they did was they looked at the data, they pinpointed exactly when the spikes happened, and they noticed there was two specific spikes of energy. And the first spike happened 15 minutes after the first plane hit the World Trade Center. The second spike happened 13 minutes after the plane hit the World Trade Center. The second plane hit the World Trade Center. What this goes to show is somehow, some way, every thought and every feeling is literally impacting the atmosphere that we know. So when you carry a belief, understand you will send an electromagnetic movement of energy that's going to create and materialize itself into an actual experience. But the mistake is you think your thoughts and your beliefs are a byproduct of you looking at your environment. But I'm here to remind you that your thoughts and your beliefs actually created your environment. So when you pay attention to that, then and only then you're no longer in the river. You're watching it. That's when things get really beautiful.
Yeah, and that's deep and wide and cool. And I was trying to think of the word, but there is another science that goes into that in a deeper sense as well. And it's interesting. This is stuff that I used to think was all this woo-woo, hocus pocus magic stuff. But the more I live on this planet 57 years now, the more things I learn and see and witness, and not just see and witness, but sometimes experience personally.
Yes.
It's like, this is an amazing, amazing universe that God created. I'm just in awe. One of the things, as far as changing your outcome, because of everything you're saying, Adrian, I think you'll agree that one's thoughts lead to their reality. And it's your thoughts, being the audience, the person listening or watching, that have led to your results where you are today. Whether you are successful or not, it's 100% up to what's going on in your noggin. It's no one else's fault. Take cause for what you have. Now you know the key to change your life. And here's one real quick example how you can do that. Because what happens, and Adrian, you've been hitting on it a lot, is I like to say you can either let your circumstances control your attitude, because we all have circumstances, good, bad. Usually the bad ones are the ones we go to think about. Yep. Or you can let your attitude dictate your circumstances. So circumstances are going to happen. The whole thing comes down to a matter of choice. We all have it. How do you choose to react to that circumstance? And one great way, this is called reframing. And Adrian is very well versed in this. Like, oh, you know what? I have to go do the dishes. Oh, hold on a second. Anytime you say I have to do something, be aware of that. And then just change one word and say it over again. I get to do the dishes. When you verbalize that out loud, or you think it, that rewires your brain and thinking, what do you mean by get? Oh, I guess we're blessed that we have a sink and that we have dishes to clean. And that means we have food to eat, and your subconscious will take over. And as you get yourself ingrained in doing something like that and say, I get to, instead of I have to, especially if it's an arduous task, mow the lawn, I have to go I get to mow the lawn now.
Yes. Your
Just
words
doing
are
that one
powerful.
simple reframe, you can get started right away without any deep knowledge of NLP. But when it comes to the point of getting it deep and permanent, that's when you want to contact this young man, Adrian Moreno. So definitely, this is awesome. I love this topic.
I wanted to just throw something on the reframe. What he just said, reframes can be used in so many different ways. I personally was able to get over my fear of public speaking through utilizing a reframe, but I did a reframe while I was in a trance. Now, by the way, let me just explain what a trance is really quickly for the audience. A trance is nothing more than an absorbed state of attention to the point where you start to filter out other information. So right now, you're in a trance right now. Let me ask the listeners this. I want you to answer this question in your own mind. Are you aware of the sensations in your left foot? Right? You're probably sitting there like, now I am. Exactly. Because 5 seconds ago you weren't. Why? Because it was not relevant to the situation. So what your brain was doing was literally filtering it out. In other words, the information was still there, but you were filtering it out. You were in a trance. What I like to do is I like to get people into theta trances, which is a specific brain wave. We got beta, we got alpha, we got theta, and then below that we got delta, and then gamma is this really interesting brain wave. But anyways, when you're in theta, this is interesting because when you're in theta, the door that does not exist, by the way, it's metaphorical, but the door in between your conscious and unconscious swings wide open. So when you're in theta brain waves, which I'll show your audience how, if you want me to, how to get into that, super simple. But when you get into theta brain waves and you start to change the way you see yourself, in other words, don't just close your eyes and visualize just to do it. Get into theta and then begin changing your perspective on yourself, because you will be able to imprint the subconscious way faster. For example, I used to have a tremendous fear of public speaking. Now I make more than half of my revenue through public speaking. So clearly I got over this fear. How? Well, I was able to see that it came from the belief that there was something wrong with me. Because I don't know if you can tell from listening to this, I don't know if you picked it up yet, Brian, but I have 2 speech impediments. I can't say my S's properly. I have a pretty big lisp. You can't hide it. And my R's. I struggle with some words that have their R sound in them. One day during lunch, I was 5 years old and I asked the teacher for more juice because I said, I'm thirsty. I try to say I'm thirsty, but at 5 years old, I said, I'm thirsty. So all these kids started laughing at me. I had the entire table laughing at me, mocking me, saying, thirsty, thirsty, thirsty. At 5 years old, I sat there, I looked at that event, and again, I decided to make it mean that there was something wrong with me, all because I couldn't speak. But how did I use a reframe in a trance to change that? A reframe has the power to change a memory. You can reframe a couple of ways. First way is you can reframe your interpretation of the event. The second thing you can do is literally reframe or reimagine a different event happening. Sounds really interesting. But in the first example, when I went back to that 5-year-old boy who felt like there was something wrong with him, I said, what meaning would actually serve you from this event? And that meaning was, I'm so damn unique that the universe had to make sure you did not forget this voice. This is why I have these speech impediments. I stand out because of them. The amount of confidence I had using my voice after that was tremendous because my interpretation of my own voice was changed. The event didn't change. I just changed the event. I just changed my interpretation of the event. And a second level of reframe that a lot of people don't think about is actually giving yourself a different event. Like I had a client who was constantly drinking alcohol. He couldn't stop drinking. Well, we got him to stop after one single session. How? He went back to a memory where he was getting hit by his dad. And it made him believe that he was bad. So what did he do? He also had a belief that bad people should be punished. So because he believed he was bad and that bad people should be punished, alcohol was his way of punishing himself. So no matter what, he couldn't knock it. But what I did while he was in a trance, I told him, I was like, look, your dad's about to hit you in this memory. Why don't you just give yourself a different memory? In other words, why don't you just think up an entire different scene? When you do this, especially in a certain brainwave, you start to rewire your neural pathways. because it literally thinks something else in the past happened. And through experience, it will change your neurons. So there's a couple of different ways you can reframe things. Like just close your eyes and imagine things in your past happening the way you wanted them to. It sounds super simple, but it's very profound when you let the compound effect do its job.
I love it. And really going into the part about, saying that you have a speech impediment and you have issues with lisping and R's. And I noticed that by watching your videos before I brought you on the show. And immediately I said, that's his strength. The reason I say that's your strength is because it makes you even more authentic. It makes you immediately human versus trying to tell your story about I was born poor and I went through the trenches. Then everybody can now relate to you. With you, it's instant. Oh, he has a lisp. Wait, he's a speaker. Wait, he's speaking with a lisp. So he's okay and successful not being perfect. So who am I to hold myself back? He makes it easier to believe that I can do this as well. And so I think
I love that you highlighted that.
That's a power that you have, Adrian. That is a plus.
Thank you so much. And all the perspective, right? Yes. It could have been for 20 years. It was something's wrong with me. I'm messed up because I can't speak like these other kids. But all I did was give myself another meaning. And keep in mind, all of your meanings are made up. Anything and everything in your head is completely made up. It does not have a shape, a color, or a location. It is made up. You add your stories onto things. So when you start to realize, oh, I made this up, then just make up whatever is actually going to serve you. Because at the end of the day, it's all going to be made up. It's all an assumption. So just assume the best.
Yeah, look, we're all our own worst critic. It's human nature. And one other thing I like to always say is to find a mentor or a coach or a course or a system or something from the outside that will help you to reach that new perspective, the empowering one. That is really the true one, because what we tell ourselves is often the wrong answer. For some reason, we're wired to always beat ourselves up, and other people will come in and see the trueness behind us and the power, not the weakness. And it could be the very same thing you think is a weakness, not you, Adrian, but everyone in general. Yeah. And so that's the beauty of this is always, this is something that took me forever to get my ego out of my head, Adrian, and say, I need help. Will you help me?
It's a hard thing, especially for entrepreneurs, right? Because you got it all together. So you don't want to ask for help. Yeah.
So here's the truth. Most entrepreneurs, the question would be, can you do it yourself? And the answer is, for most, 90+%. The answer is yes. The next thing to say, though, is, why would you ever want to? Because you can do it. It's just going to take you 10 years instead of, if you got help, 2 years. Then how much money have you wasted in that 8 years where you just paid a mentor to get it done in 2, and now you're crushing it, making money for the remaining 8? It's a no-brainer. But once you think about outside of the box, get away from yourself and look at the situation, get help. And then once you get that help and you see how wonderful it is, you'll continue to wash, rinse, and repeat. Find the next mentor that you need at the next level. Find the next course. Find the next improvement area that you need to get concentrate on. We're always thinking and growing. Always.
Yes.
Always.
And the higher you go, the thinner the air gets. So always having that level of support is tremendous.
That's a good metaphor. I like that. And it's true. The higher you go to Denver and don't drink enough water. You'll get a headache.
That's still on my bucket list. I believe I'm going in October this year to Denver. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
October. Yeah. It might be getting pretty cold there. So drink a lot of water on the flight. Hydrate heavily.
Definitely.
Avoid that nasty headache. Wow. The time is flying. I just took a look. My goodness. I'm going to ask you a little curveball here, and I know you've got a decent answer because you're doing everything. I'm very intrigued. You're making most of your income or half your income from speaking from stage. Am I getting that right? I forgot the number.
Yes.
And that's pretty powerful, especially today when the stage is just reopened, basically due to what we just all went through. But when it comes to marketing, one of the hardest things for a live event, for an in-place, not just Zoom virtual, is to get physical butts into physical seats when it comes to an event. It is difficult. Don't let anybody tell you differently unless Adrian has figured out the magic wand. Typically, it takes a lot of just diligence, work, prep, a lot of marketing and a team typically to fill any size room of any decent size. I mean, I'm talking 50 and up, not that huge. For you, Adrian, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to building a following enough that people will show up at a location that they may not even live near. And I don't know if that's often the case for you. What is your go-to currently today form of marketing that helps you to get people to know that you're there, and then, bring them to with great interest to say, I want to change my life? What is working for you right now today? Because marketing changes every decade. What works this decade most likely will not be working next decade.
Yeah.
Unless it's personal relationships, which works throughout any decade. But I'll leave it to you to say,
totally,
what is it that's working?
So some clarification. I wanted to go ahead and highlight that all the speaking that I do is speaking at other events, at other people's shows. So it's not like me having to fill the room up, but what does allow me to spread my audience in the way that I have in such a short amount of time, and to be the prominent individual when it comes to, you have performance anxiety around your business. Why does my name come up for a lot of people? Because marketing, I think a lot of people have the misconception is that you're persuading people to buy something that they do not want, or they do not even know that they need. But to me, marketing is nothing more than finding what people's desire already is and going to where those people are. So I know for a fact that, I grew my business. I hired a mentor, and he told me to grow my business through cold prospecting, DMing people, all of that. I grew my business to multiple six figures by not sending a single DM. The way that I did this was by adding genuine value to an influencer who had my audience. Here's a perfect example. One of the mentors, I had a mentor, and this got me. So I spoke, and people don't believe me when I say this, but I spoke to a crowd of 50 people. At the end of it, and don't get me, I also did hypnotize them during the experience, because I give people great group experiences. But at the end of it, 48 people submitted a form to want to work with me. And I ended up enrolling a crap ton of that 48 and making a really nice chunk of change through a single speaking event. But how did I do that? First is I get a little bit intense with the way I do things. In other words, so I found this guy. Every year, I write down 8 names of personal relationships that if I get into their life and they get into mine on a personal level, it will move the needle on my business without me having to really push for it, right? But my number one thing is, how can I first add value to this person's life? So what I did was, this is a real life example. I sent it to this, I'm going to keep his name protected, but I sent it to this entrepreneur a lot of people know. And I sent them an email. And I said, hey, I just want to say, I appreciate everything you've done. I've been following you for this long. You've helped me with this much. I had a personal touch. And I said, here are 8 specific ways I believe I can be of value to you. Please let me know which one you'd like to take me up on, or if you want to take me up on all of them, just send me an email. The first thing was, I knew that he helped people in business create monthly recurring revenue. So I said, I have 3 business podcasts that would eat up your MRR technique. I can get you on their shows. I know them. Number 2, I went through all of these different things. And then one of them was, I can go deliver an amazing experience for your audience. And you could let me know how that sounds. And then this last one, I asked his wife what his favorite place for lunch was. She told me, and I said, and last but not least, we can have lunch and discuss all the other 7. And he ended up responding to me saying, Adrian, I've never received an email with that much thought, with that much boldness in your asking. And because of that, I've been able to lock in a partnership that literally has my calendar full for weeks on end. I'm talking at least 6 weeks on end, having my calendar full because I got plugged into his network. But this is all I do, is I reach out to my influencers who have my audience and who I know I can add to their service and I can add to their client experience. I'm not going to go reach out to a hypnotherapist. I'm going to go reach out to a business coach who may have clients who are procrastinating on taking action that's messing with that person's success rate. So I'll approach you, Brian, and say, Brian, I can help you improve your success rate, and you don't got to pay me a single dollar. It doesn't invest any time. In fact, I want to pay you for it. Let me show you what I mean. And I will let you know, hey, your clients are not getting the results because your program sucks. No, your program's amazing. That's why I'm reaching out to you. Your clients are not getting the results, even the right ones. Some of them are not, because their programming does not have room for that. So what I can do is I can go in and I can eliminate that and make you look even better. So you get more testimonials, more referrals, more of this, more of that. And then it's so positioned to add to their life. And so that puts me that I have what I like to call trust audience. My audience, like people who are listening to this, you're probably going to hit my email list pretty soon now. And you're going to have an extreme level of trust because you trust Brian, because you've been following Brian all of this time. And now when I ask you something for, I make an offer to you or something, you don't need to know, like, and trust me anymore. You don't need to go through that process. You already know, like, and trust me. So I just find where my people are. I ask myself, what do they buy? What do they hang out? And for me, I get a lot of my opportunities in masterminds, networking events, seminars. Why? Because that's where all of my clients are. And that is the way that I am able to market my business and gain a level of exposure that allows me to not have to chase a single client. And that's how I grew my business. I would literally send about 20 to 30 pitches a week to be on podcast with my audience, and I have a very specific style. I do that. In fact, you were a big part of that, right? And then I reach out to another 10 to 15 offline stages every single week. And my goal is to land a certain amount of stages every single month. And for me, I forgot what basketball coach said this, but they said, you know what, guys, we're sucking right now. We're not winning because we keep trying to make all these points. How about this? How about we just don't let the other team score above 60 points? Let's just do that, guys. And I feel like we're going to start doing something. They went on to win whatever it was that they were doing because of that one metric. So what I told myself was, if I can just get this many stages a month in front of this many audiences a month, I would never have to worry about paying my bills ever again. And I just reverse engineer that into how many people I need to reach out to. And so that's basically how I've been able to grow my business without having a prospect. I prospect on influencers. I don't prospect on like the actual client, because and this is another thing. And I want your audience to think about this when it comes to marketing too, is most industries market a very specific way. In the coaching space, the mindset coaching space, it's typically marketed from the seller, the service provider, directly to the client, directly to the customer. It's that kind of marketing. So I'm going to go in through the side door, and I'm going to market by marketing to the influencer who has my client. In other words, I'm going to go sell to the doctor who has my patients. Yeah. So it's going in through the side door. And when you ask yourself, how does my industry typically market? You're going to get an answer to the complete opposite. And you will start to find, that's how 5-Hour Energy became as big as it did, by not putting itself next to the energy drinks, but by putting itself next to the bubble gum. So with that in mind, does that answer your question?
Oh my goodness. You know what this is, Adrian. It is what I call a bomb dropping moment. And I have a little glitch going on in my system, and we're going to make this work, because that was worthy of it.
Great. I was waiting. I was like, I wonder if I'm going to get bombs dropped on me during this session.
There we go. And here it comes.
Yes.
Bombs of wisdom, smart bombs, bombs of knowledge. Oh my gosh, that is genius. And so many people can learn from you. You're 25 years old, and it's inspiring me. I'm a kind of person where I've come to the point where age doesn't matter to me. Color, gender, religion, results are what matter to me, as long as they come from an authentic, integrity-based individual such as you. And I get to learn. My mentor by age could be my son, literally. Age never mattered to me. Wow. I learned from everybody all the time, and I'm learning right now. It's a enforcement, and a good one.
Yeah, most of my clients are like in their 40s to like 60s, by the way. So it's a very common thing that happens.
But it's genius. Co-prospecting, I call it leveraging off of another one's tribe. And to go after, I love it. You're very focused, and you go after an influencer who has those who are going to be, highly probably likely to need your service.
Yes, but the key here is, before you ask for a withdrawal, deposit as much goodwill as you possibly can. I'm going to an event in 3 weeks. There's an influencer that if I can get on his stages, it will blow up my business to a whole nother level than it already is. So what did I do? I was able to, I had a $1,200 extra ticket, and I invited him to go to the event because I'm speaking at this event. So if he can see me speak, I know for a fact he's gonna be like, dude, that just blew my mind. How about you come speak to my audience? But before I'm even asking any of that, I got him a plane ticket out here. I got his hotel room out here. I got all of that out here and said, just come for 3 days, enjoy the event, watch my 30-minute talk. You can leave after that if you want to, but I'm buying you a nice event to come out to. But this is going to allow me very quickly to be able to deposit when I want to deposit. But you have to be willing to add an insane amount of goodwill. It's like your goodwill bank account. Alex Hormozi talks about every relationship. He goes, it's not that you're transactional in your relationships. You're mindful of how much value you add to their life. So you keep a goodwill chart on every single one, a goodwill statement on every single person, because this allows you to, like the more goodwill you put, the bigger the ask you can give. So that's like very important, that it has to be win-win-win. Like there's no such thing as getting something for nothing. And when you understand that, then doing this becomes very easy.
I totally relate to all this. And actually, it doesn't always mean you have to put in a boatload. There are times when it happened. I started doing this without even thinking about it. I'd go to these events. I was a seminar junkie. You know how they give you those lanyards with the badges? There's a guy.
You got all of them?
Pretty much. There's a guy named Mr. T. I don't know if you know who that is from the Rocky days.
Yeah, okay.
Canes when he's walking around in public. Well, I put him to shame when I put on these lanyards, because I do this from stage to show people, you know, and the key is to just show up. But I mean, I would go to so many of these things. It was amazing. I lost my train of thought where I was going with this. We were just talking. I got so excited about Mr. T.
I was talking about jumping from seminar to seminar. Not putting as much goodwill. Like you said, you don't need to put in a whole bunch, right? I think that's where you're going. Yes.
So at the end, I would end up being one of those people that was usually one of the last, if not the last, attendee in the room. I usually would go to events that were close to home. I didn't have to hop on a plane. I didn't have to blow away. I just started offering to help. They were breaking down chairs. I didn't care who they were, if they were a crew member, who they were. I just said, hey, I'm here. I'll help. I'm not a small guy. I don't have to be a big guy to help. I'll help stack chairs. I'll help box things, whatever you want. Would that be okay with you? And they're like, yeah, you know.
Who's gonna say no?
Yeah. And at one such event, I did this. I offered what was going to be the wife eventually of the main speaker. I knew she was back there helping. And I said, hey, do you mind if I help, you know, clean up? And she's like, oh, that would be awesome. Because she's literally putting chairs on those travel dolly things, you know, and all their stuff, all their equipment. And by doing that, I then got direct access to the main speaker, who would become my mentor after he hung around and answered questions. I waited respectfully, got to have a chat. And by that one act, I got into his inner circle. Eventually, I became his lead trainer from stage for 2 years for his seminar.
Wow.
All because of that act. I didn't expect a thing in return. So what you're saying is spot on. Is all that is to say, it works that way. But I would always, and I think you agree with this, is you go into it not expecting the return.
Yes.
Do it by giving and expecting nothing in return. And really, truly, you'll know that something may come as a result. That's just be good with that. But have the intention of just helping and nothing else.
Yes. I would like to say, just like when Edison, I think it was Edison or Charles Schwab got his job with Edison as the inventor, he went into it with a clear intention in being his partner in business. But he worked for 2 or 3 years without ever seeing that happen in return. So I do go into relationships with the intention of value of both of us valuing from the relationship itself, but I let go of the expectation of it happening. And I full on accept the fact that anything can happen, and I just accept that. But I have the intention to be very clear that, hey, I'm coming in here because I see a way that I can leverage this relationship. You can leverage me as in terms of adding benefit to your life. But if that doesn't happen, I'm still going to add a goodwill to your life, period. Because like I said before we started recording, hearing the words thank you is like the biggest freaking high that I can ever experience in my life. So. That's a big return.
You're absolutely right. And I also teach this is don't go to anything or do anything without a clear outcome in mind. And so that's what you're calling intention. And so learning that happened to me, my outcome then became from that point forward to meet the main speaker. However that was going to happen, I didn't know, but I would always hang out and see if there's anything I can do to help. I'd say, hey, do you need anybody to help run your mics today? I see you're a little low on people. I've done it before, so I can help. And they're like, their jaws on the ground.
Man, you're
like,
giving me some ideas for this next week. Even though I'm speaking at the event, it's also like, where other opportunities can I add to this event without speaking on the stage? So you're getting my mind going because I'm just very giving guy too. So I like this. Interesting. Fun.
And I learned that concept from another individual. I didn't make this up. There was a guy running microphones and he wasn't dressed up. He was it wasn't a t-shirt, but it wasn't dressed up because he was running and sweating. And I didn't know him yet. I hadn't met him, but I got to know him during the event because he was running all over the place. And I'd just say, hey, man, you're a rock star. You're all over the place. And I appreciate it. He said, oh, thanks. Next time I see him, he's speaking on stage. He's doing the same.
Oh, my God. I love this.
And so I think the term he came up with was contribution leadership. And I was like, shoosh.
Contribution leadership. That's beautiful.
And the same thing, he did it without expecting anything in return. But, it just comes back. What goes around comes around. If it happens as a direct result of that particular event, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. Down the road, that is you're investing in your mind, your mindset.
All seeds,
yes.
All seeds will be sowed.
I just check the time. This is a good sign, Adrian. We went over time only because I say it's an hour long. But hey, I'm not paying for a studio, so we'll go another hour. I'm just kidding.
I was like, hold on, I need to eat.
But I did promise for everyone that stuck with us live to the end that I would offer them a 5-night stay, how to win one, a 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort. And a little birdie told me you have a gift. And then real quick at the very end, so we do have about 10 minutes to go, if that's cool with you.
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, totally cool.
At the end, I'm going to ask you a very wonderfully profound question that I have found to be profound because by accident, I was asking this question on occasion of past guest experts. And like the answers were like, what? This is freaking awesome. I'm going to ask it to close out every show from now on. And I'm excited.
Phenomenal. All right. I'm excited. You just planted some NLP. Now I'm like, okay, you opened the loop. Where is it at?
Baby. Very astute on opening the loop. Oh, yes. All right. So real quick, though, to allow people to enter to win, write this down. Don't do it now. You don't have to do it right away. You can enter. Even the guest expert can enter. I have had guest experts win this, by the way. There is no favoritism given here. It's a fully random draw. Here it is. I'll put it up on the screen for you watching live. What you need to do is write this URL down, and right after we're done with the show, then go to it. And the one you want to go to is ryp.im/vacation. Make sure it's all lowercase, as you see on the screen, ryp.im/vacation. And you can enter to win there. And what I'm going to do at this moment, because I just got so engrossed in the amazing Adrian Moreno. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I want to bring up your website as you describe the gift you're about to give to someone. And if you don't mind, show people how they can contact you the best way. And then we will also end it with that final amazing question. So don't go anywhere, anybody. But here, let's bring up that site and go ahead, Adrian, take it away. If you remember what that gift was, if not, I'll bring it back up.
Oh, yes. No worries. No worries. So you're talking about the, so this right here that you're showing them, if you want to get in contact directly with me, to have me speak for your organization, to have me come in, speak for your clientele. I speak to a lot of masterminds. I do about a mastermind a month in terms of like in-person and virtual events. And if you want to really, and like exactly how that thing says, give your audience mindset seat tools that will never fail, you can go ahead and you can reach out to me directly through there. And that'll take you to a booking page. You will fill out a form to ask you some questions about your company, about your organization, and then we'll see if it makes sense for me to go ahead and speak for you. And we can have that amazing conversation there. Aside from that, you can just look up my first and last name on any social media, and you will find a beautiful, handsome Mexican guy there who looks I look a little Asian. All right. So keep that in mind. But you can just contact me through any of my socials there, aside from that website.
Fantastic. So that is at adrianspeaks.live. So that's ADRIAN SPAKS.LIVE. So that's for our listeners that are not seeing this.
And for the gift, I talked a lot today about removing these beliefs that hold you back from getting what you want. And you can have massive changes very rapidly. And so what I did was I took the exact process that I utilize, the neuro-remapping technique that I utilize with my clients, and I put it in a pre-recorded form. What this is designed to do is literally help you tap into theta brainwaves so you can get to the root behind whatever behavior issue is holding you back and literally rewire your neural pathways for more freedom. It is about 45-minute video. It's a real experience. So you got to be willing to actually carve out some time. And because you're going to be closing your eyes, you can be going through a real full-on experience. But let me just tell you, the messages that I've gotten from these, we've had relationships rekindled. We've had people whose businesses blew up literally without me even having to work with them. So just go through this process. Don't believe a word I just said. Experience it for yourself. Go to www.rewiremythoughts.com/unshakable.
That's right. www.rewiremythoughts.com/unshakable. And you can see what it will look like. It's there on the screen for those of you watching the video. You'll be able to see it's very simple, straightforward. You click a button and then you fill out a short form and you're done.
And check your email. So many people, it's weird. You'd be surprised, Brian, how many emails I get. They're like, I didn't get the course. I'm like, check your email. And then they have it. So just check your email, check all of your folders, and you should be able to find that there.
I can help you with that with a hack I've come up with that works amazingly well. And it's really easy to do. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that off camera because I am an automation. I call it a freak. I was coined the term automation master by a peer. So I just go with it. But I did not coin myself that. I'm not one of those ego people.
I love it.
So thank you for both of those. And I highly recommend everyone does this. Look, the thing I love about this is it won't take any of Adrian's personal time. In fact, his system will take over. You'll get the video. You just follow the video. And I like to always say, do everything that you're about to do with Adrian with what I call an open mind, because very much like a parachute, your mind is, it only works when it's open. And it's a recording. It's a recording. So if there's any point during it where you're feeling a little uncomfortable, hit the pause button, go back, play it again. But just know that you can see Adrian has the best intentions of anyone that I've met in a long time. And you can know that what he's doing for you is good for you. And just go in with, after watching this show, you now have gotten to know him enough to realize, well, this is a guy I trust, or it's a guy that I'm not quite there yet. Either way, you can still go check out the video and take it as far as you can. But I recommend you just take it all the way through. He's gotten a success rate. He's worked with high influencers. He's got the credence and everything that goes with it. So my recommendation, take him up on this offer. It costs you nothing, zero, to change your life forever in a positive way.
Absolutely.
So let all those inhibitions, that hesitation, that resistance, the fear of moving forward, just wipe it clean, because that one step of stepping forward into Adrian Moreno's world can then remove all of that hesitation, fear, and resistance of moving forward and becoming successful forever. Consider that. Yes. Consider that. Please do consider that. All right, let's clean up the screen here a little bit, because we have taken care of all the wonderful stuff. And you know what? I just want to add one more, just because I think this has been a very profound show. I never do this at the end, but I'm going to do it right now. And that is one more bomb drop. Yes.
I love it. I love this. I feel honored.
Still have one more question to go, and it will be a bomb drop or two. So I normally don't put this one right before we do the question, but I'm feeling it. This has been a great, I've had a great time, Adrian. I know that.
So have I, man. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. I know everyone that's watched it, who's going to listen to it on podcast, will as well. And I hope you all do take action. That's the key. Learn, do, and the final one is teach. So do it enough to where you teach it. When you teach it, you learn it at the deepest level possible, and then you can help others. And that's the beautiful part about it. But we need to wrap this show up at some point. Oh, I hate to do it. But I like to ask this one final question, Adrian. And like I said earlier, it's profound, and it can be a little bit personal, but at the same time, it's not. So here's the thing to kind of frame it properly. And that is, there is no such thing as a wrong answer.
Okay.
It doesn't exist. It's the exact opposite that's true. The only correct answer is yours. It's because it's unique to you. That's the only thing that makes it personal. That's it.
All right. All right. I love it. Great.
And if you come up with the answer instantly, or if it takes you several seconds, even minutes to come up with the answer, that's also just right, because it is your answer. So there's absolutely no pressure of any kind, even though there is now because of the buildup you're feeling.
I'm about to say, dude, you're building this up so well right now.
Oh, that's right, as we would say. That's right. All right, here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready as it gets.
All right, here we go. Adrian Moreno, how do you define success?
I would say success is first and foremost realizing that you are the creator of your entire experience, and then doing everything in your power to create the experience that feels like life to you. Doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. I believe true success is the feeling of ease. And when you feel easy, what I mean by the feeling of ease is I mean life is not easy. I mean that you are so resilient that no matter where you bend, you always come back to your baseline of I am more than enough and I'm more than okay. But I would say success is being fully identified with the fact that you are enough. Because if you truly feel that in your nervous system, every single moment in your life will be a successful one. And when every moment is a successful one, you end up with a very successful life.
And you know how this is going to close out, don't you? That's right. That's right.
Yes, I love this. This is so much fun.
Adrian Moreno, you are an amazing young man. I appreciate you for coming on, for sharing your wisdom, your experience, your success. It's obvious you are someone who doesn't just learn. You do. You're an action taker. That's why you have achieved success. I'm saying that for everyone out there to understand that it's one thing to watch. It's one thing to learn. And I've seen it. I've seen people learn over and over and over and just stack their shelf with books, CDs, DVDs back in the day, cassette tapes, and listen to them maybe, and then do nothing with them, and then complain, well, I got this course and nothing happened, because you got to do something. You got to put action. Adrian is the person to go to model. He's out there. He's got goals. He's getting on as many stages as he can each and every month. He's set the goals. He's reaching out to people. He's doing it fearlessly, even though there might be some trepidation on occasion because it's an influencer. What are they going to think about me? But he's just giving you the roadmap to do it. It's just pummel them with value. Just and research them. Do it properly. Everything you said, Adrian, is so freaking intelligent and so on point. And it really brightens my day and night to be able to cross paths with you, Adrian. I know I can learn a lot from you, and I know this won't be the last time we talk because I'm also very much into loving speaking from stage. It's been a long time. I'm going to reach out to you, and I have an idea for you, but we'll talk about flying.
Wonderful.
But that's it. I gotta wrap this up because Adrian needs to eat, and and I would like to do that same thing. I haven't eaten either.
Got some oatmeal.
Adrian, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on, for sharing your very valuable time. And I appreciate you, brother.
And thank you from the depths of mine. And
you know what? That's it, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the amazing Adrian Moreno, I am your host, Brian Kelly of the Mind Body Business Show. That's a wrap. We're done for tonight. We'll see you again next week with another phenomenal guest. Until then, so long, everybody, and be blessed. Take care for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Body Business Show podcast at www.themindbodybusinessshow.com. My name is Brian Kelly.